Okay, so just, I want you to imagine something. Step outside tonight
Yeah.
and look up.
But not at the sky, you know.
Exactly, not that quiet, empty blackness. Imagine the entire sky has this immense, luminous, breathtakingly precise structure.
The heavens suddenly have weight. They have rules. They're defined by this ribbon of ice and rock wrapped right around the Earth's equator.
And that's what we're diving into today, this,
Yeah.
this massive hypothetical. What if Earth suddenly got a full Saturn-scale ring system?
And this isn't just about a pretty view. We're really digging into the sources that analyze the total systemic change. It's an exploration of the terrifying and, yes, the beautiful consequences.
Exactly. Our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this incredible cosmic design project. We're going to start with the awe, the sheer sensory overload. But then we're moving fast into the really profound and genuinely dangerous consequences for our climate, our culture, and our ambition to even leave this planet.
It's a scenario that shows us that planetary decoration, on this scale isn't just decoration. It's a geological event with a colossal cost.
Okay, let's unpack this. Let's start with the visual, because before we get to the physics and the chaos, we have to talk about what you would actually see.
Right. The sources describe it not just as a spectacle, but as the moment the sky gets a spine.
A spine. I love that description.
It's perfect, isn't it? A vast, luminous arc that just cuts across the sky. If you're near the equator, it's taking up maybe a third of your view, stretching horizon to horizon. And it's permanent. It's not like an aurora that flickers and fades.
And it's not just a smooth band of light, right? We're talking about incredible detail.
Oh, absolutely. If it's like Saturn's, you'd see thousands of individual ringlets. You'd see layered bands of bright ice and then these sharp, dark gaps.
Like the Cassini division.
Exactly. Like black lines drawn with a ruler across all that brightness. It would be the most structured, most engineered-looking thing in the entire sky.
The daytime view would be one thing, this silvery arc overhead. But the sources all agree the night is when it really hits you.
That's when it explodes into detail. All that ice and dust, billions of tons of it, catching starlight and moonlight. The description I read that stuck with me was like powdered glass.
Wow, I can barely wrap my mind around that.
Yeah.
It just turns the night sky into this piece of immense, glittering, permanent architecture.
Which is why the psychological shock comes first.
Before any physical effect, yeah.
Precisely. I mean, for all of human history, we've looked up and seen this infinite, distant, untouchable void.
Right.
These rings would shatter that illusion instantly.
They really would. The heavens wouldn't feel empty anymore. They'd feel engineered, structured, close.
It's a physical ceiling, a visible mechanism that defines your world. You know that feeling of cosmic smallness we get when we look at the stars?
Yeah, of course.
This completely inverts it. Instead of feeling small beneath infinity, you feel defined by immensity. You are living under a cosmic structure that is constantly pressing down on you.
Life on Earth would never feel small again. But maybe it would feel a little
They're
trembling.
confined, exactly.
So that's the awe and the existential crisis rolled into one. Now, for mission of this deep dive, we've gone through the research, and it details how this one single structure rewrites, well, everything.
Everything. From the climate, to how we tell time, to whether we can even get off the planet.
We're talking about deep cultural fragmentation based purely on where you live relative to these rings.
And we really need to dissect that. How this sudden change in the sky affects everything from photosynthesis right up to the jet stream. The rings become the main driver of, well, everything.
Our goal is to move beyond that beautiful picture and get to the real mechanics, the planetary cost. We want you to understand the physics of what it means to be a planet wearing a crown.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's start with the most immediate, inescapable physical change. The light.
The light, yes. A Saturn-scale ring system means you are reflecting a huge amount of sunlight back towards the planet, day and night.
Which means no more true darkness.
No more true darkness. The moonless night that has, defined human existence forever. That's gone, especially if you're near the equator.
So what's it replaced with?
The sources describe it as a soft, silvery glow, a perpetual twilight almost. I've seen estimates that on a moonless night, the ring light alone could be as bright as a quarter or even a half moon.
That is a significant amount of light washing over the landscape every single night.
It's powerful. It would be strong enough to cast diffused shadows. And think about the biology there.
Right, the circadian rhythm.
Of every species on Earth, including us. That much constant light could suppress melatonin production. We'd be facing chronic sleep disruption on a global scale.
So societies would have to adapt.
Right.
Well, over thousands of years, we'd have to evolve differently.
And that's just the biological side. Culturally, this has a much deeper consequence.
That's drawn.
The collapse of equatorial astronomy. You don't just have light pollution anymore. You have a massive physical barrier dominating the sky.
It's not just that it's bright, it's that it's in the way.
Exactly. It's physically occupying huge portions of the celestial sphere. Any telescope you point at that arc is just, it's overwhelmed. It's blocked by glittering debris.
So cultures near the equator, which, historically had such rich astronomical traditions.
They might grow up barely aware there is a wider universe. Their sky isn't the void. Their sky is the rings. It's a defined ceiling that hides everything beyond it.
So the true cosmos-distant galaxies, nebulae, most of our own Milky Way, it all becomes an abstract concept.
Known only to people at high latitudes. And this leads to this incredible split that the source material really emphasizes.
The two sky cultures.
The equatorial versus the polar experience. Near the pole, say, above 60 degrees latitude, the rings aren't this massive arc overhead.
What do they look like?
Because of the curve of the Earth, they appear as just a thin, subtle, elegant line hugging the horizon. It's almost symbolic.
Whoa. So on the same planet, you have one group of people living under this colossal, overwhelming cosmic architecture that blocks their view of everything.
And another group that just sees it as this beautiful, thin line on the horizon. They can still do traditional astronomy. They can still see the void.
That's a profound split. Your relationship with the universe is literally determined by your latitude.
The rings become the most significant geographic feature on the planet, more than mountains or oceans. They define your knowledge, your history, your theology.
It's the end of a shared human experience at the night sky.
Yeah.
And what happens to the moon in all this? Our oldest companion.
It's demoted. The sources are really clear on this. The moon's visual dominance is just gone. It goes from being the main character to a supporting actor.
And its path would constantly take it behind the rings.
Constantly. Lunar eclipses could become a weekly or even nightly event in some areas. Imagine watching the moon just vanish. Not into shadow, but behind this glittering curtain of ice.
And when it emerges,
The sources describe it as ghost-like. Its light would be diffused, fractured by all those tiny particles. It would never look the same again.
so it stops being this reliable clock in the sky.
And this is the really critical part. This creates a cognitive split. The moon's gravity hasn't changed, right?
So the tides are still there.
The tides are mostly unaffected, so visually the moon is diminished. But physically, its role in ocean dynamics is still dominant.
So the sky is lying to you about what's actually important.
Exactly. Your perception of time would have to shift away from the lunar cycle because it's lost its visual meaning even while the oceans are still obeying it. It's a profound dissonance.
And this is where we shift from the awe to the really complex consequences, because this is where it gets interesting and, frankly, a bit scary.
This is where we have to talk about physics on a planetary scale,
Yeah.
because the sources are absolutely insistent on this point. Rings are not passive. They are climate drivers.
They cast shadows.
Planet-wide shadows. Predictable, but constantly moving as the Earth orbits the sun. We're talking about billions of square miles falling under the ring shadow at different times of the year.
So as the planet tilts, these vast bands of shadow just sweep across the surface. The sources call it seasonal dimming.
And that term is, well, it's far too gentle for what it describes.
It sounds like just turning down the lights a bit.
Right, but it's not. It's essentially a massive, permanent, pre-programmed cloud layer. Entire regions would see a huge reduction in sunlight, not for days, but for weeks or months at a time.
Which means it gets colder.
Colder, and critically, it means a massive reduction in the energy available for photosynthesis. Plant growth just plummets.
So the ring geometry itself starts dictating the weather, completely overriding the old rules of latitude.
The entire climate map becomes obsolete. The new map is defined by light access, so regions under the densest shadow bands, let's say between 10 and 40 degrees north and south, they become significantly colder and drier.
Drier. Why drier?
Less light means less energy driving evaporation from the oceans, so less moisture in the air. You could see the creation of entirely new deserts or even new ice caps in the shadow zones.
But then, what about the areas getting more light, the reflected light from the rings?
Right, the ring shine season. Those areas would get warmer and potentially wetter than they are now. This massive secondary energy source could fundamentally change those climates.
So you could have jungles migrating poleward into what used to be temperate zones.
It's entirely possible, and the complexity is just staggering. Imagine two cities at the exact same latitude. One is under a shadow band and becomes a cold desert. The other, just a few hundred miles away, gets blasted with reflected light and becomes a new breadbasket.
Which means chaos for the food system.
Guaranteed. Total chaos. Agriculture is built on predictable solar cycles. The rings destroy that predictability.
Farming calendars would be useless. You can't just plant in the spring anymore.
No, you have to plan around the ring shadow. It's like having a permanent solar eclipse that lasts for weeks, and you have to time your entire growing season around it.
So crops would have to be completely re-engineered to tolerate these long periods of dimming.
Or they'd just fail. The result is what some sources call the balkanization of global food. International trade in staple crops would probably collapse because every region is now dealing with its own unique, hyper-localized microclimate.
But some societies might actually do well, right? Maybe places that are currently too hot.
They might flourish. But the sources suggest many more would struggle violently. Their growing seasons cut short, their yields collapsing. The pressure on global stability would be immense.
And all that environmental stress has to go somewhere.
Right into the atmosphere. The atmosphere absolutely hates massive, sudden temperature shifts.
And that's exactly what you've created, these massive temperature gradients between the light zones and the shadow zones.
Which creates intense pressure differentials. The atmosphere tries to equalize that pressure, and it does so violently.
Stronger winds.
Much stronger winds. And it destabilizes the planet's fundamental atmospheric cells, the Hadley, the Ferrel, the polar cells, all the systems that distribute air and moisture around the globe.
Meaning the jet streams go haywire.
Precisely. They'd shift wildly. Storm tracks would no longer follow seasonal paths. They would bend and curve and intensify around these shadow bands. You'd get these hyper-regionalized zones of extreme weather.
The unpredictability is the terrifying part.
It is. The foundation of civilization is the ability to predict the climate. To know summer is coming, to know when the rains will fall.
That foundation just erodes. It's gone.
Every decision, from a harvest to building a bridge, becomes this high-stakes gamble against atmospheric chaos, all driven by this beautiful, enormous celestial umbrella. The rings don't just decorate the sky, they dictate the energy budget for the entire planet.
So if the rings are rewriting the physics of light and energy, they have to rewrite the human experience of time and meaning, too.
Oh, absolutely. The cultural reorganization would be profound. I mean, this constant, immense, permanent structure in the sky would immediately demote our traditional ways of telling time.
The moon, the stars, they become less relevant.
They feel abstract. The solar or lunar month feels meaningless when you have this massive, fixed thing in the sky defining your days and nights.
So we needed new calendars.
The sources suggest calendars would evolve around what they call ring shadow cycles.
Ring shadow cycles. I love that.
It's a great term. Time would be marked by when the sky darkens or brightens because of the rings, not just the rotation of the Earth.
So your new year might not be the solstice, but the day the big shadow finally passes over your city.
Exactly. Your year is split into two main seasons. Ring shine, when you get all that reflected light, and ring shadow, when you're under the cold, dim band. It's practical, it's beautiful, and it's a deeply practical way to organize your life.
But it's also incredibly divisive. This new structure just begs for meaning, for a religious response.
It's unavoidable, a structure that never falls, that only moves predictably. It's a theological blank canvas. You'd see new religions seeing it as the ultimate boundary.
The edge of the cosmos. The line between our world and the divine.
Or maybe as divine protection, a shield. Or, and this is the one I find most evocative, a scar from some forgotten cosmic battle, a womb in the heavens that has to be remembered.
Wow. And that visual dominance would just bleed into everything. Art, architecture.
The obsession with the curve, the arc, everything from pottery to poetry would mimic that omnipresent shape in the sky.
And cities. Would they be built differently?
I think so. They might be aligned with the rings. Streets engineered to frame the view at certain times of day to maximize the spiritual impact, or maybe to minimize it if your culture sees the rings as a bad omen.
The whole idea of up changes.
It's not abstract anymore. It's not just an empty direction. You're looking at something, a physical plane that defines the top of your world.
Okay, let's bring it back to ecology. That constant ring light.
It permanently changes the meaning of night.
Right. Night travel would be easier.
Hmm.
For us and for other animals, navigation is simplified.
But that comes at a huge cost for species that rely on true darkness.
Nocturnal predators.
They lose their biggest advantage. The cover of darkness is gone, so prey species have to adapt. They'd evolve better camouflage rather than just relying on hiding in the dark.
So the sources say the meaning of night softens.
It's a good way to put it. It goes from being a time of danger and stealth to just a period of dim light with altered behavior. We might even see humans near the equator become more naturally crepuscular, more active in those long twilight periods.
And what about over the long haul? Thousands of years of this.
Well, it's a whole new set of environmental pressures. Species would adapt. Migratory animals might stop using the stars to navigate.
And start using the ring shadows instead.
Why not? It's a massive, permanent, highly predictable signpost in the sky. A perfect navigational cue.
And for us,
Yeah.
the psychology just shifts completely.
The first generation sees novelty, the 10th sees permanence. Eventually, everyone just grows up with it. It's not a cosmic event anymore, it's just the sky. A constant daily reminder that your planet is physically contained by something else.
Okay, we've talked aesthetics, light, climate, but now we have to get to the real material danger. This is the truly sobering part of the deep dive.
Right, because we can't forget what rings are made of. Billions of tons of fast-moving debris orbiting the planet.
And rings mean debris. Debris means impacts. It's an inescapable law of orbital physics.
Even a stable ring system is just a cloud of stuff moving at incredible speeds, tens of thousands of miles an hour relative to the surface, which means a massive increase in micrometeorites entering our atmosphere.
Thankfully, our atmosphere is a great shield.
It is. It would burn most of them up as shooting stars. But the sheer volume means enough would get through to make meteor events much, much more common.
So it's not a rare spectacle anymore.
It's a known risk. We'd have to adapt our technology defensively. Self-repairing roofs, armored shielding for power plants. It introduces this baseline cost to just being safe that we don't have now.
But the truly devastating consequence, it's for our greatest ambition. Looking out. Getting to space.
This is the cosmic trap. Launching anything through that ring plane. It's lethal. It's a minefield.
A permanent, high-velocity minefield girdling the entire planet right at the equator. Let's talk about the physics for a second.
Please.
A piece of rock in low Earth orbit is already moving at about 17,500 miles per hour. The debris in the rings is also moving at orbital velocity. A collision isn't a bump, it's a hypervelocity impact.
At what kind of relative speeds?
It could exceed 30,000 miles per hour. The kinetic energy is enormous. A piece of ice the size of a marble could vaporize a rocket. There's no shielding that can reliably protect you from that.
So you just can't launch from the equator anymore. Places like Cape Canaveral are out.
They're death traps.
Yeah.
You'd be forced into polar trajectories, launching only from the extreme north or south.
From places like Svalbard or deep in Patagonia.
Exactly. So you can slip around the dense part of the ring plane. But the logistics of that, setting up massive launch sites in those frozen remote places.
The cost would be astronomical. It would increase the price of every single kilogram you send to orbit by, what, a factor of 5? 10. It creates this massive bottleneck. Our reach into space would just slow to a crawl.
Moon bases, Mars missions.
They all become these niche, impossibly expensive projects, not the commercial endeavors we're starting to see now.
And just maintaining our current satellite network would be a nightmare.
Anything in orbit is at constant risk. We'd be tethered to our own surface by a cosmic speed bump.
That's the great irony, isn't it? The central paradox.
Yeah.
The rings make Earth feel so much more cosmic.
Immediately, viscerally more cosmic, yes.
But they trap us here.
They trap us more tightly to the surface than ever before. We get the incredible view, but we lose the ambition to go there. The structure that makes us feel connected to the universe is the same one that keeps us from exploring it.
It's the ultimate paradox. This beautiful crown becomes a cage, a high-velocity ceiling. The sky stops being this blank canvas for imagination.
And becomes a fixed ceiling with rules. Rules of orbital mechanics, of debris collision. The price of that beauty is planetary confinement. It turns our vision of infinity into a definition of our limitations.
So what does this all mean? We've gone from the sheer, stunning spectacle of the sky acquiring a permanent spine to climate chaos, cultural fragmentation, and an existential risk that turns our escape route into a minefield.
It means that a single celestial feature can reshape everything beneath it. We look at Saturn's rings and we see beauty without consequence because it's so far away.
But on Earth, that beauty would come with this undeniable fundamental cost. It means planetary systems aren't neutral. Every feature rewrites the rules.
And that's the final decisive takeaway from the sources. A world crowned with rings would gain immense wonder. The scale of the vision would be incomparable, constantly defining human existence.
But
But it would lose its innocence.
innocence defined by the belief that the sky is empty, infinite, and forgiving.
Exactly. That innocence is lost to the knowledge that the cosmos can define your fate, your calendar, and your maximum altitude just by sending some decoration your way.
Every child would grow up knowing the sky isn't empty, isn't abstract.
It is structured, it is defined. And when the universe decides to decorate a planet, it never does so without fundamentally rewriting everything beneath it. It creates a structured, tangible ceiling to the human experience.
An unforgettable deep dive into the cost of being crowned. Thank you for joining us.